The last true spy didn't wear a tuxedo or carry a silenced pistol. He wore a rumpled hoodie, drank lukewarm coffee, and attempting to overthrow a sovereign government in a matter of few hours, all without leaving a secure room in a non-descriptive building. The battlefield has moved from embassies to smartphones. Today, deep states and foreign power pitch not just state agents but common ordinary people to achieve strategic goals to create an unrest at tactical level, assassinate, or for mass uprising. Historically, espionage relied on official cover, spies operating out of embassies as diplomats, utilizing dead drops, physical wiretape, and human assets. Today, the smartphone is a walking, talking compromise vector. A smartphone contains multiple microphones, cameras, high accuracy GPS trackers, financial data, and encrypted messaging logs. By compromising a single device, an intelligence agency gains more access than months of physical surveillance could ever provide. A nation state no longer needs to physically deploy an operative to a foreign capital or risk an embassy official being declared persona non grata. The operation can be launched remotely from a desk thousands of miles away. A 1960s spy would use hidden camera, dead drops, secret meetings, microfilm, while in 2026, spy would deploy malware, smartphone exploitation, AI assisted analysis, social media intelligence, and satellite data. Modern spy often doesn't need to steal documents. The target's phone may deliver them automatically. The most stark real-world example of intelligence agencies using a target's own mobile device to completely dismantle an organization occurred in September 2024. The Israeli intelligence agency Mossad executed a masterclass in psychological and physical warfare against Hezbollah in Lebanon, and it started precisely because the target tried to abandon their smartphones. As they switched to low-tech pagers, unsuspicious Israel's Mossad killed 40 of their top leaders while injured 3,000 other operatives, all in one go without any collateral damage. I am joined by Shailesh Kumar, founder-editor of The Strategist. Shailesh, how has Mossad executed its kinetic spy operations?
So basically what happened, Shreya, in 2024, the Hezbollah, they were wary of the Pegasus software because they got to know that the Israeli Mossad had the Pegasus software and they can track down any of their operatives because the smartphone can easily be infected. So they can record audio, they can record even video, they can see the location, they have the GPS. So smartphone was a very big leak for their security. So they ordered all of their operatives to, gradually subside to lower tech equipment like pagers. So Mossad got to know that Hezbollah has ordered the change, and that is how they did not intervene. They kept mum and they impersonated a company, a Taiwanese company, and laid out the network of the exporter. So they projected and they poisoned the whole supply chain. And when Mossad ordered, this Hezbollah ordered the pagers and the walkie-talkies, what did they do actually? They make shell companies, front companies, and one company from Budapest was selected by Hezbollah for executing this order for walkie-talkie and pagers. So they actually made the pagers and the device on their own, the Mossad, the Israeli agency. And while they were making, they made sure that in the battery compartment, they hid the military-grade explosive, PETN, to the tune of 3 grams. And that is how they managed, and they supplied in bulk, in thousands. So all the Hezbollah operatives, they switched from smartphone to pagers. And Israelis, they infected those pagers. And on 17th and 18th September, if I'm not wrong, 2024, back then they sent one alarm, one message on all the network in the Lebanon. And when the Hezbollah operatives, since they had to read physically, they need to bring in pages to close to the eyes because it's so small in reading. And at that point of time, they sent the signal and they detonated. They issued the charge, and the detonation occurred, and that caused severe injuries and death. At least 40 of the Hezbollah operatives were being killed in this operation, and 3,000 other Hezbollah operatives were injured, seriously injured in this operation. So you see, the Mossad has executed the operation, which is a kinetic war, but without being at the enemy territory or without any collateral damage. They executed this operation very successfully while being in the bunker or roaming freely in Europe. And the Hezbollah, they could not get a wind of it. So this is how the smartphone was used. Even if they switched from smartphone to lower tech pages, the Mossad was successful in executing this kinetic operation.
This is a textbook example of kinetic cyber warfare. The agency didn't send a single physical spy into the field to plant bombs under cars. They sat in a secure bunker, manipulated global corporate logistics, and used a line of code to turn the devices sitting on grocery store counters and nightstands into weapons. The story of El Chapo, the Mexican drug lord responsible for over 34,000 deaths, was finally caught using the smartphone and extradited to United States, where he was sentenced to the life of prison. But Shailesh, tell me, isn't it an irony that you spy on yourself and get caught?
That was the dumbest thing by a very clever mafia, El Chapo. He was very paranoid. He was very, very careful about his own security, about the cyber security, about being caught, being spied or espionaged, falling in any espionage network. So what he did, he was a micromanager. He spied on his own wives, because he has multiple wives, mistresses and captains and anyone who is close to him in the inner circle. So what he did, basically, he was not quite afraid of only FBI or any other international agency who is after him, because Sinaloa cartel was such a big network. So FBI was running various operations, and other agencies were also. So what happened, like he knew that these mobile network, the towers, they have been compromised. So he wanted to build a web of network of his own, of the Sinaloa cartel. So what he did, he called one cyber expert who was very young at that point of time, very brilliant, and had affiliation with the gang. So his name was Christian Rodriguez. So he called him up, and then he built a network for him. So that would be beyond what these agencies could comprehend. So it was an independent network of the cellular thing, and he was operating very successfully. But what happened, since he was spying on his own people, somehow FBI got wind of it that he is running a separate network and spying on his own people. So they caught this Christian Rodriguez one day, and they interrogated him, and he confessed that he built a separate network, independent network for Sinaloa cartel. And El Chapo, he was the biggest cartel in the world, such a great, I would say, very nefarious drug lord, and they managed to move the servers from Canada to Netherlands, and they embedded one spy software, Flexis Spy, and that is how they got to know every activity of El Chapo and his network. He was unsuspicious, gullible, that anything of that nature is happening in the back of the network, and then FBI caught him, and then he was extradited. So despite being so paranoid, so cautious, and very conscious of his own weaknesses, he fallen because of his own weakness, because he did the dumbest thing, spying on you, releasing the information of your own people. So that is how, like, it was like putting a webcam in your bedroom and broadcasting it to the world. So that dumbest thing was done by El Chapo.
In the Cold War, spies planted bugs inside rooms. In 2020s, the target carries the bug in his own pocket. With modern spyware, an intelligence service can read messages, listen through the microphone, watch through the camera, and track every movement all through a smartphone the target willingly carries. The device proved deadly for Iran's Quds Forces commander Qasim Soleimani. Isn't it challenge the devices proved deadly for the IRGC commander Qasim Soleimani?
Absolutely. Qasim Soleimani was a ghost basically. He was heading the Quds forces, specialized Quds forces, and the Mossad, the Israeli agencies, and the CIA were after him, and they wanted to execute him. But he was very clever. He never used phone in constant way. He would keep changing the number, and he would use very low-end devices. So Mossad got to know that he's traveling to Gulf, and he has ordered to get new devices. So they again they poison the shell companies through the shell companies. They poison the supply chain, and when he landed in Baghdad. The very point of time when he landed at the airport, the Mossad locked on him and the CIA locked on him. And in real time, the Mossad has given the data, the new phone number and the location and everything to the CIA. And CIA logged into their systems, and it went to the whole network. And within few hours, in less than 6 hours, he changed 3 numbers. You can imagine the kind of man he was. He was never trusting anyone, and he was never relying on any one cell phone, because he knew that these can be tracked. So despite ordering new phone numbers or new devices for the inner circle, he was being spied upon and successfully located. And then CIA, when they locked on to him, they fired the Hellfire missile through using the MQ-9 Reaper, the drone, and he was finished. He was assassinated.
A hacker hired by the Sinaloa cartel managed to compromise the mobile phone metadata and live geolocation of a high-ranking FBI assistant legal attaché working out of the US Embassy in Mexico City. The cartel didn't just track the agent, they cross-referred his live phone location data with Mexico City's municipal surveillance camera feeds. By tracking who the agent was meeting with on camera, the cartel identified, intimidated, and murdered several key FBI informants. The defining technology of this new spy war is zero-click spyware. Now, such tools are many, like NSO's Group's Pegasus, Intellexa's Predator, or various state-developed tools. How it works? Traditional phishing required a target to click a suspicious link. Zero-link exploit requires zero user interaction. The vector? They typically exploit hidden vulnerabilities in network protocols or messaging apps like iMessage or WhatsApp. A target might receive a silent, invisible video call or text. The phone processes the data, triggers a memory vulnerability, installs the spyware, and deletes the log of the incoming call or message before the user even sees it. Once installed, it grants the attacker total control root access. They can silently stream the microphone during a confidential defense meeting, download signal WhatsApp chat histories before they are encrypted for transmission, and track exact coordinates. Historically, only superpowers like the US, Russia, or China had elite signals intelligence capabilities. Now, commercial spyware firms sell these turnkey cyber weapons to smaller nations or regimes, leveling the playing field. Because commercial tools or open source vulnerabilities are used, proving exactly which nation state ordered a hack is incredibly difficult. This allows adversaries to operate in the gray zone, reaping the award of espionage while maintaining plausible deniability. Defense strategies are no longer just worried about secure embassy buildings, they have to worry about the software supply chain. A single unpatched flaw in a commercial mobile operating system can expose high-ranking military officials globally. With such sophistication in spying, declaring an embassy staff persona non grata or expelling a diplomat seems archaic now. So the question I want to ask here, Shailesh, is should government also change their style to deal with the embassies of adversaries?
See, it is true that given the nature of warfare changing, the spying, espionage, I believe that if you go back in time, and you would find that various embassies they have expelled the diplomats of each other. The Western nations have expelled the embassy staff of Russians. India has expelled the embassy staff of Pakistanis. Even Pakistanis have done the quid pro quo. So, why it is happening? Because they believe that somebody is spying. So, they declare the diplomat as persona non grata. So, they had to expel. But over the period of time, you would see that the whole spying operation is changed. Now, the embassy staff does not need to go in person. That thing is being delivered by the smartphone, by the spyware, by the software of the smartphone. There are various apps being used. So if you infect, and it has been found that various ministers, high profile diplomats, military attaches, and the bureaucrats, they have been infected with such spywares, and the information is being leaked out every time to the adversaries. So, declaring persona non grata or expelling the diplomats, I think it is now a redundant thing. It is a thing of the past. The embassies, even if they got to know that spying is going on, they should keep mum, keep tracking, and the counterintelligence. The counterintelligence gives you a lot of leverage in those situations. So definitely the agencies who handle such things, they need to change their modus operandi, and instead of direct expelling the staff, they should increase their counter intelligence operations.
Now let's talk about the zero-click ghost. In 2018, before the Pegasus project went fully public, one of the most chilling displays of non-physical espionage target Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. It redefined how we understand mobile vulnerabilities.
Certainly in 2018, Jeff Bezos, he was in touch with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and both exchange communications on phone, on smartphone. And one day it happened that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman sent a video file to Jeff Bezos, and he did not had to click on that file, the video file. He did not had to download any app or any software. Despite that, as soon as the video arrived on the WhatsApp, it was activated by the background code of the WhatsApp. It was a natural thing as it gets downloaded, and that changed the root access. It was a kind of exfiltration operation in the Jeff Bezos mobile phone, and Crown Prince wasn't in the picture, and suddenly within few minutes and hours, the Jeff Bezos smartphone start leaking bleeding the massive data, and that was sent to a remote server, an undisclosed location, and all his private chats, the text, encrypted files, photos, and the real-time location that was being passed to those remote servers. He was compromised without any click. It was a zero-click exfiltration operation.
The attackers didn't spy on him. They used the stolen data to orchestrate a massive public blackmail campaign through the media. In Russia-Ukraine war, both Russia and Ukraine launched Operation Sonic Wave to target enemy posts. So, in the modern electronic warfare, smartphones are being used as an automated artillery spotter without the owner even realizing it. So, what do you have to say about that?
See, basically both, if you go to the Russia-Ukraine war, both Russia and the Ukrainian cyber units, they have been using the ubiquitous nature of the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi, the handshake, whenever they pass, whenever they use, the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth especially, they forget to turn it off. And the Bluetooth handshake or the Wi-Fi handshake, that gives a lot of data. Because what happened, they on the front line, when they use fitness app or something, then the Bluetooth, they send out the signal. How are being they detected? They would use the sensors on the low lying trees along the tree lines, or using via the flying drones, and it would not actually hijack or infiltrate to that extent, but it would just log on to the passcodes through the IMSI, which we call it stingrays. So that would catch, and that would give out the location. But if somebody one single person is moving, it doesn't make out any difference. But when you find some 30 or 40 odd people in a barn or in an isolated location, so that would give, because why the Russians or the Ukrainians people would be there, all 50, and at a secluded in a jungle area. So that they would immediately, the AI algorithm would presume that it's a command post. If for the next 10 minutes, if the data is constantly showing 30, 40 odd people at one location, so that immediately been distinguished as a enemy command post. So that data automatically get into the artillery, and because it's all autonomous, and the artillery within few seconds would fire a shell, and that would hit the command post, and the enemy is neutralized. So these sort of operations, both way, the Russians have been using it, the Ukrainians have been using, and I believe the military all across the world, they are relying heavily. And that also raised a question about the autonomous weapons, because sometimes there is no human in the loop. So that's a very inhuman thing to be hitting someone without, just on a guess. It is just a guess, mere guess, and they could be civilians. So there may be a possibility of misjudgment.
The soldiers are targeted simply because their pockets were shouting to the network. Starkly similar is the Starva military base incident, is the holy grail of modern non-physical espionage examples. It's a legendary case study on the operational security failure and open source intelligence. So can you narrate it about it?
See, basically what happened way back in 2017, Strava was an app, a fitness app, which has released data. Had it been a city like Washington or New York or Mumbai, that data, the fitness data released by the app, could have been kind of white line. It would be not so distinct. But in 2018, the Australian university researchers, Nathan Ruser and all, they find out that there have been areas in the world, whether it's in Niger, whether it's in Djibouti or Syria, where there is a less likelihood of civilians being present or using that sort of high-end smart watches or apps which can release that kind of data. So they found that it could be military personnel. Where the military bases are, where the United Nations executives, officers are working, soldiers are working on peace missions. So they find that this data gives a lot of information, because they were in thousands. So they would run around their own command post on a particular time period. So that would reveal the heat signature. So it would be kind of glowing light. So they would find that how many soldiers are present, what sort of geographical location it is. So, and then these apps were being further analyzed, and they could even target who the person using such app is, and then through that they could even identify the family members. So the whole data was compromised. There have been very classified areas like the CIA black sites where nobody would come to know, but through that data leak of the Strava, people got to know.
Fitness data from active service members continued to accidentally map out artillery position and temporary military clusters in ongoing modern conflicts like the war in Ukraine and Gaza. There are 5 new trailblazer battlefields emerging, which renders traditional legend James Bond an icon of past. In the upcoming episode of these strategies, we will talk about the new battlefields characterized by data artificial intelligence, cyber espionage, space, and influence operations. That's it for today's episode. I'm Shreya signing off.